Hey everybody, we're going to give just a couple more minutes to let people log in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, it looks like we have some people still trickling in, but it is officially 2 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and kind of kick things off. Let's see. First, I wanted to start just by doing some quick introductions since Ella and I are not the normal sort of usual suspects at Reach to do webinars. Just wanted to sort of introduce us. So my name is Tristan Helene, and I am the Director of Client Relations here at Reach. And then our other presenter today is Ella, and she is our lead designer here at Reach. So just to kind of give you an idea of the flow of today's webinar, we're going to keep things pretty general just because we've never done a content-focused webinar before. So if we don't touch on anything specific that you guys are looking to talk about, I really encourage you to reach out to our team. Our account managers, our creative team are really happy to walk through any ideas that you might have and how we can make sort of ideas that we don't touch on successful for you guys. So the first thing I'm going to do is start by just discussing upcoming holidays that we have going on the remainder of 2024, and then touch on just some communication basics that I really feel like we can easily overlook that are kind of worth circling back on. And then I'll wrap up with some content ideas that are going to kind of maximize engagement and interest with your digital signage. And then from there, I'll let Ella take it away, and she'll do some layout design best practices. She has a really good sort of design 101 that she'll do about creating content, and then finish with some content ideas that you can take away for the holidays for your digital signage screens. And just as a little reminder, we will be recording this session. So if for whatever reason you need to circle back, or you're wanting to share it with a team member, you can certainly do that. And then we're hoping to have some time too at the end of this where we can have a question answer session. So we're going to be using, there's a Q&A function on this Teams webinar. So if throughout the webinar you have questions that pop up, feel free to use that and just kind of type those in there. And then at the very end, we'll circle back and take a look at those and sort of touch on anything that comes up. So let's go ahead and get started. So since obviously this is a content-focused webinar, we thought we should probably kick things off talking about upcoming sort of holidays and how you can do that with content. So as we approach the end of 2024, which it feels impossible that we're already there are a lot of kind of key holidays that offer a really good opportunity to sort of refresh your digital signage and keep that content just relevant and engaging for your viewers. So one thing that we always tell our clients is regularly updating your content, I think, is one of the best ways to ensure that your signage is going to remain fresh and impactful. So just anything you can do to sort of keep that refreshed is great. So in the holiday season is really an easy way to be able to do that. It's simple, but a powerful way to give your screen sort of a new look and then keep your audience interested as well. So whether you're using to promote events, or maybe you're educating your viewers on the history or significance of a specific holiday, or you're just wanting to build awareness, sort of all of those strategies, I think, can create a more appealing experience for viewers. So just keep in mind as we're talking through this today that seasonal tweaks can kind of really go a long way when we're talking about driving engagement. So before Ella sort of dives into the design best practices and content ideas, I wanted to take a step back and sort of discuss some of the important sort of communication basics that I think we can sometimes overlook when we just jump right into the design piece. So number one is know your audience. And I know this probably sounds really obvious, but knowing who your audience is, I think, should really be that first step in your content strategy. So making sure that you're tailoring that content to the viewers who are actually looking at your screen is going to ensure that it resonates and then drives engagement with them. I think you have to think about like your viewers' expectations. So let's say it's a shopper in a retail setting. So are they walking in and they're wanting to know, are there any sales or promotions I should be knowing about? Or an employee in an office wanting to know about sort of year-end stuff, or if there's an upcoming holiday party they should know about. Or maybe it's a visitor in a public spot or a community center, like the example we have on this slide, where they're hosting just a Veterans Day breakfast and it tells them where they can go to get that breakfast. So I think your screen's location and the demographic of its viewers should really guide the tone and the style and just the overall messaging of the content that you guys are putting on your screen. And one thing, sort of a key takeaway from today's webinar, is that one size fits all content, I don't think always works. So, blasting the same message across all of your screens might not be the best approach. Different screens are going to have different audiences. So just making sure that we're working to customize that messaging accordingly to whoever is that viewer of those screens. So the second one, again, these probably seem really obvious, but I think, again, they can just quickly be overlooked when we just dive right into something else we saw or all of these different ideas. But number two is just a reminder to keep it simple. I know that's a huge cliche, but keeping your digital signage designs and the content that you're publishing simple, I think, is one of the most important design principles that we can sort of push. Too much clutter or information is going to overwhelm your audience. And then initially that's probably going to have them miss the kind of key message that you're trying to get out there in the first place. So later on, Ella's going to go into a lot more detail on that and show some really good examples. But I think the key takeaway here on the communication basic part is just to avoid overloading your screen. That goes for like the layout design. So your whole screen, how it's set up, and the content that you're publishing. Just don't overload that, kind of keep that whole thing a little bit simple. And one little tidbit I wanted to say, and I've said this for a really long time, when you're designing content for your digital signage, I think it's really great to think of it almost as a billboard. So you're wanting just to grab attention with a super big, enticing headline, maybe 1 to 2 important details, and end with a call to action. So similar to the example, on this slide, they'd use all of those elements with that winter job fair. And I think if you follow that type of formula, it'll leave your audience curious about it and kind of wanting more without overwhelming them with so much information. And then the last sort of communication basic is to do your best to make your signage feel personal. So I think one of the most effective ways that you can sort of engage viewers is by making that content feel really personal. We've heard it, we've heard it from clients, we've seen it ourselves, but people really love to see themselves on the screen. So however you can have your audience and the people that are looking at that reflected on your screen, I think it can build sort of a sense of communication and a deeper connection just with your organization and the content that you're posting. So I would challenge you as you kind of listen today and then like the takeaways that we go leading, into the remainder of 2024. Think of ways that maybe you could feature the viewers and the audience of your digital signage within your content. I think it's a really powerful thing that can be used. And this is another one that might feel obvious, but maintaining sort of a positive and welcoming tone in everything that you're publishing goes a really long way. So being mindful that, sharing content that reflects events and holidays that are relevant to all viewers of your screen, and that your messaging is inclusive and really resonates with a diverse background that might be seeing your content on your screen. So before we kind of get into the fun design stuff, which is the fun stuff, I did want to go over just kind of 3 content ideas that can potentially maximize engagement and interest of your digital signage. So the first one is just how you can include dynamic and eye-catching content. And I think this is a key to sort of maintaining that viewer attention and kind of grabbing it so it's not the same stale information up there. And then when you have that dynamic and eye-catching content too, I think it just gives your signage a little more personal look and feel. And so your signage is just perceived as, a little more exciting. So to give you some specific examples of kind of dynamic and eye-catching stuff, a super simple way to do this is just changing your screen's background of the layout to maybe match the seasons. We have a ton of clients who do just seasonal changes. So in one of the examples that are cycling through, you'll see some leaves, right? So it's just kind of a fall feel. So that's a really easy way to do that. You can do it for upcoming holidays too, but seasonal is a really easy way. And then another way that we sort of tell people to incorporate a dynamic feel is just by adding video. That's a really powerful tool for engagement. It's always eye-catching. So I think if you make sure that you're including short videos, I wouldn't do, don't throw in a 30-minute video. Most people are probably not going to sit and watch your digital signage screen for 30 minutes. So make sure that video is short and it'll be eye-catching for them and it will draw in that attention. And, within the Reach system, that's super easy to do. You can just drag and drop a video file that you have, or if you don't have your own video file, but you found something maybe on YouTube that resonates with what you're trying to get across, all you have to do is copy and paste that link right into the Reach system, and then you already have a video up there. So that's super easy. And then the last thing on the dynamic piece that I don't want you to underestimate the power of making a piece of content go full screen. So, and when I say full screen, in this one where it says holiday acts of kindness, so rather than having it just in that small zone, in the publishing settings within the Reach system, you can toggle on a full screen sort of feature, and that makes it take up the entire TV. And I think that really kind of makes that content dynamic and makes the whole screen change, and it really kind of catches eye. So anything, this is great for things like important announcements, or if you have big holiday events coming up, or some, you're trying to promote something. Those are great pieces of content to kind of use that full screen feature to make sure you're grabbing that attention, and it really maximizes the impact of sort of getting that message across. All right, moving right along, another way to maximize engagement is to show real-time information to your viewers. So I think one really effective way to do that is through integrations or automated content. And when I hear that, the first thing I think of is a calendar. So highlighting upcoming holiday events on a calendar or scheduled activities, that's information that viewers are likely going to be looking at a screen, especially like in a lobby when you're walking in. They want to know where to go, what type of events are going on that day. So being able to pull that in automatically keeps your signage fresh, and then also doesn't require any manual updates. In a corporate setting, this is a really great way to sort of show real-time information too, is by integrating KPI metrics. And we've seen and we've heard from clients that can be really beneficial, real-time information to share with their employees. So gives their employees sort of an opportunity to see real-time progress or statuses, maybe share team goals or end-of-year goals, and that drives engagement. and can potentially too, improve productivity just by showing that information on the screen. And the last thing I want to touch on is the flexibility piece of things. And this is a little more on kind of the settings of publishing content, but we know everybody is really busy and there might not be a dedicated user that you have that is actually publishing content. So the flexibility to be able to schedule content in advance, I think, can be a really big game changer. So I would recommend to utilize that whenever you can. So pre-scheduling, holiday stuff especially, or anything that's time sensitive, when you're able to pre-schedule that, that's going to eliminate the manual need to go in, start it on a certain day, or pull it down on a certain day. And then it will also ensure that your screens are kind of showing the right content at the right time without any sort of additional effort. And the last thing that I want to touch on about maximizing engagement and interest is just making sure that your messaging is targeted and that if you can, get that viewer involvement happening. So I know this sort of goes back to what I touched on earlier too, but it goes back to knowing your audience and ensuring that that information that you're putting on your screen is really relevant to those who are seeing it, and that those messages are clear and concise and not just information overload, because we know that just doesn't work, and it probably, like I said, they're not getting the information that they're looking for. When you can, I always recommend using a call to action, and make sure that those are clear as well. So it's for more information, you're going to have them go to a specific website, or maybe it's call this number or contact this specific person. And I think we've all seen sort of the resurgence of the QR code post-COVID, but having people scan a QR code to go to a specific, landing page that has maybe registration information or just more information about an event that you are hosting, I think are really easy call to actions to do. And then the last piece, again, is just involve your audience as much as you can. I think that people just like to see that. So whether that's featuring employee spotlights, sharing kind of birthdays or anniversaries going on within the organization or your company, you could even do it to, shout out donors or sponsors of specific events and stuff like that. I think that personalized content can really foster that sense of community, and it can, encourage participation by inviting viewers to share their own stories. Or if you could hear that, sorry, someone is at my front door. I just got a notification. But going back, just encourage participation, how people can be shown on their screen, whether that's, featuring stories or anything like that, will really enhance their connection and I think boost overall engagement. So with that being said, I'm going to pass things off to Ella to sort of go through some of those best practices.
Hello. Right. First, I'm going to request control. All right, well, hello everyone. I'm Ella. In case we haven't met, I'm one of the designers here at Reach. And today I'll be talking about designing layouts and content and then the best practices for those. Tristan, I think I need control.
Okay, I think I gave it to you. Sorry, guys, this is real time. Again, this is not usually our show. So hopefully. I'll just move it for you. Sorry, Ella, I'm not
Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, so starting off with layout best practices, we'll just go through a breakdown of an effective layout, working our way through knowing your target audience, going through some applications, and then finishing with branding. So just a reminder, these are recommendations that we've seen work best over the years, but there really is no right or wrong way to display a layout or content. You can customize it however you think is the best way to engage your audience. All right, so Step number one, when we create a layout is just we start on a blank canvas. So we want to make sure we know who our audience is. By focusing on those key demographics, that will help engage the audience and make the most out of your digital signage. So in this example, we're looking at a corporate company looking to focus primarily on employee communication. Since it's employee communication, they might focus more on tailoring the content internally versus externally. So now that we know it's internal messaging, we'll want to ask the question, what type of content could be relevant for their layout? And there really is an endless amount of possibilities, but to just name a few, employee anniversaries or birthdays, individual or team spotlights, again, kind of like Tristan said, everyone loves the appreciation or seeing themselves on screen. You could add in KPI metrics or upcoming company events, or even just adding in important reminders in a scrolling ticker, or adding in real-time updates and automated content such as news stories, fun facts, or trivia. So then we ask the question, how do we showcase this content? And that would be through our applications. So in this example, a university would like to showcase their campus events. And the perfect solution to that is our calendar application. So with the calendar tool, they're able to auto-populate their campus-wide events through an integration. That way they won't have to manually update each event. And there are multiple options of templates for the calendar tool, but in this case, they want to showcase their calendar in multi-day view. So now the calendar will scroll viewing multiple days worth of events instead of just the one. And my favorite part of our applications is the stylizing and customization of them. So of course we have those pre-built templates for you to use, but taking it a step further, we're able to customize that look and feel of your brand. So whether that's colors, fonts, or the format, this is a great application to use in the holiday season because you're able to schedule upcoming information to your audience. Now, a fun holiday, like a holiday seasonal application you could use is the counter tool. So in this use case, a K-12 school is looking for a holiday countdown specifically for Halloween. And the counter tool is nice because you can count up or down. But in this case, they want to count down to Halloween. So we customized it, we can make it onto a theme. And then once Halloween's over, we can go on to that next holiday and stylize that theme to that holiday. And we're able to add in days, hours, minutes, and even down to the seconds, because really who isn't counting down the seconds to a holiday or even a holiday break? And then another great application to use to show off holiday content is with the playlist app. So looking again at a corporate company showing internal announcements, you can use the playlist to create, manage, and upload those announcements. So in this example, the playlist is one of the main zones being shown on the layout. It's showcasing engaging, eye-catching, and informative announcements, adding some animation to draw in the eye, adding that pop of color, and then just informative slides about those upcoming holiday events. We want to make sure that the playlist content is easy to read, clear and concise, and eye-catching. And the playlist is a great tool to also schedule out. So you're able to add in a start and end date, which is perfect for the holiday season, making sure that that content is up to date. And then lastly, we started off by knowing our audience and then figured out the best application. So then we take a look at branding. And again, there's no right or wrong way to display a layout. We do have those pre-built templates for the applications, but we're also here to help add your logos, fonts, colors, and graphics. And this will create a cohesive and unique look for your digital signage that's catered to your brand. So whether that shows your logo on the layout, adding in your specific colors and fonts throughout the background design and applications, or even just showing graphics either embedded in the background or layered on top. This will just help make your layout distinctive for you and your brand. And a fun seasonal idea that I've seen, and Tristan kind of talked about it too, is just adding in like autumn scenery for fall. And then when winter comes, it changes it to the winter scenery, just creating that fresh new look throughout each season. So now onto the fun part, the content best practices. So we have the layout and we want to add in that relevant content and messaging. So we'll take a look at fonts and colors, images and graphics, and then concise targeted messaging. So starting off with fonts and colors, they really do play a big role into your content design. So in this example, it's a recreation center looking to add in an announcement for event registration to get more signups. So we'll walk through readability, skimmability, high contrast colors, limiting that color palette, and then just consistency throughout when it comes to those fonts and colors. And don't be scared, we'll walk through the slide to make it a little bit better. So starting off, we just changed it so we have that readability, that skimmability, and those high contrast colors. So with that readability, we changed out those fonts so they're easier to read. For the skimmability, we took that text and we sized it appropriately, and then we just want to keep in mind the amount of text we have on the announcement. And then moving on to those high contrast colors, making sure that the contrast between the text and the background are easy to read and they don't really blend in with each other. And then just also keeping in mind that accessibility for others. And then taking it a step further, we're looking at the limiting that color palette and then just keeping it consistent. So just keeping in mind how many colors we are using. So making sure it's not cluttering the announcement. You can still use multiple colors. I love color, but just kind of making sure they're not all over the place and that they fit a theme. So in this case, Halloween, orange, and kind of that deep red. And then just having it consistent throughout that content or that slide by either staying to that theme or using your brand colors. So from the first slide to this slide, we can kind of see how that does make a difference when keeping in mind those key ideas. So on to the next, we'll look at images and graphics. So for this example, a corporate company is looking to showcase an upcoming holiday webinar. So we'll go over how we can fix this announcement by looking at these key points of orientation, high quality images, images that matter, legible text, and image placement. So starting off with orientation, in that previous slide, it was a portrait announcement in a landscape zone. So it just wasn't utilizing the space the best that it could. So our recommendation is just making sure you're using a portrait announcement for a portrait zone or a landscape announcement for a landscape zone. And then now looking onto the quality of the images and then just using images that matter. We want to avoid using blurry or pixelated images. So that previous one, it was a bit blurry, it was a bit pixelated. So swapping that out to one that has a better resolution. And that also goes into images that matter. So that previous one was like a beach sunset, but this webinar is for a holiday. So just adding in like holiday theme, this is just like a winter landscape, but images that communicate information quickly and effectively. And then lastly, looking at legible text and image placement. So we want to make sure that text has a contrast color to the image background. That's going to be kind of telling what that content is about. So you don't want that blended in the background. And then same with image placement, just making sure there's empty space between or around those elements. So like looking at those headshots, making them more consistent and around the same size instead of all over the place. And on to the last one, which is general copy and messaging. So we'll take a look at a retail company looking to advertise a sale during this upcoming holiday season. We'll go through these key points, being clear and concise, keeping it simple, and then adding that visual hierarchy and call to action and focusing on one message. So starting off, just being clear and concise with the messaging. You're not overdoing it. In the previous one, there was just a lot going on, a lot to read, which goes into just keeping it simple. Shorter words, phrases are easier to read, and just using that simple language. And then adding in that visual hierarchy. So you want to make sure the most important parts are the first thing noticed. So for this example, having that holiday epic sale, you want to grab that attention and then kind of layer them on the bottom. And then adding in a call to action. So adding in more information on where to go. This will help it keep it simple. So adding in a website, a phone number. I've seen a lot too. A lot of people using like QR codes where they can scan it and then it will redirect them to find that more information out rather than having a whole paragraph on it. And that kind of brings me to one focus message per slide. Again, you can have more, but it is a little bit simpler to just have that one message per content slide, and then you could have multiple other ones with a different message on them. So after looking at the layouts in the holidays or the content ideas, we'll now look at just kind of holiday content ideas that will just help elevate your signage this holiday season. So starting off with the countdown to events, we already kind of talked about this. So adding in a counter to the holidays, holiday breaks, big sales, maybe the end of the quarter, holiday parties, just getting people excited for all the fun events ahead. Looking at number 2, maybe sharing holiday photos, whether that's a holiday party or a community event, team photos, the winner of a costume party, or just a fun photo stream. Number 3, end of the year details. So that could be displaying your end of the year, end of the month corporate metrics. That's a great way to display large amounts of information that's easy to understand. And then looking at holiday announcements. So bringing awareness to those upcoming holidays and showcasing all those holidays throughout the season. We showed a couple examples of holiday announcements earlier, but holiday parties, holiday events, reminders, or when like the office is closing, just to keep everyone in the loop. And then lastly, you could add in some spotlights. So that could be congratulating an employee on their promotion or hitting a sales goal, a team project that launched, birthdays or anniversaries, or just like team spotlights. So hopefully this all gives you some fun holiday content ideas for this fast approaching holiday season. And we're always here to help, whether it's helping design your layout or even if you want to ask us for effective applications and content to use.
Yep, perfect. Thank you, Ella. So I know we kind of covered a lot in a very short period of time, but I hope you're able to sort of take these strategies that we've discussed and maybe think about how you can utilize them sort of in your signage for the remainder of, going into the holiday season and then from beyond. So I just wanted to touch that if any of you are current Reach customers and this sparked some ideas, that I really hope you take advantage of our free design services. We have dedicated teams that are happy to sort of work with you, whether that's, redesigning the entire look and feel of your layout or just giving you kind of an updated background design. We're happy to do that. So if that's something you're interested, feel free to reach out to your account manager. If you don't know who your account manager is, you can email that marketing@reachmedianetwork.com and we can get you in touch with the right person. If you're not a Reach customer, but you want to just learn more, I really invite you to sort of sign up for a free demo. We customize all of our demos and kind of give you a hands-on experience where you can explore that Reach software firsthand and just see how that could potentially benefit your business. So we're here to help. So if you guys have questions at any time, feel free to reach out to us, however best works for you. So that being said, if there are any questions, we would love to take them now. I don't see anything in there yet, so. And if there aren't any, that's okay too. Like I said, if we didn't touch on something specific that you were hoping that we covered, feel free to reach out, like I said, to that marketing or your account manager too, and we can have a more kind of personalized conversation and see what we can do. Okay, so one just came through. What are tips for determining how long a message should be displayed in seconds? And what do you suggest is a reasonable number of days to display different types of content? That's a good question. So I would say, this is, again, it's sort of just personal preference, but just knowing like how most digital signage is set up, right? Where unless it's in a break room or something that people are going to be sitting for long periods of time, most of that content should probably be relatively short. So I think if you're sticking with anywhere from 10 to maybe 30 seconds max for a piece of content. Ella, I don't know what your thoughts are, but that was sort of always my rule of thumb when working with people, to at least trial that out. And then if information is just still not getting across, we can sort of test it from there. But that 15 to 30 second time, I feel like is a good sort of rule of thumb.
I agree, because it gives them a chance to read it,
right.
but it's also not taking it for a while.
And then a reasonable number of days to display too. I would say, I guess, depending on what it is, but like kind of doing it month to month. So if you have, something that you're wanting, I don't know why registration just popped into my head, but let's say you have like a holiday registration that's due by the end of October. I think running that for at least a good month is probably good. Anything more than that is probably going to get a little bit stale and people might look at it and then just sort of go, oh, well, I've seen that for the last 4 weeks, like out of, I'm not paying attention to that anymore. So maybe 3 to 4 weeks. Ella, I don't know your thoughts on that one too. This is all sort of my personal opinions, but
Yeah, I would say just the biggest thing to keep in mind is if you do have something with like a date or something on there, just making sure that's up to date. So if something has
yeah.
passed, just making sure that that's kind of ended on your layout. But other than that, yeah, I think that's a good amount of time.
Yeah, and that's where that pre-scheduling I think really comes in handy because then you're not having to remember when there's 1,000 other things going on.
Mhm.
October 31st when you wanted to pull that down, that can just automatically come down at a specific time, and then you don't have to worry about old stale content that isn't relevant anymore still displaying on that screen. The question. Anything else? We have a couple more I had to refresh. So someone said that they create their slides in Illustrator and then save them as a JPEG. Can I design in Reach and still use my brand font? That is a good, so I'm sure a lot of you have been on our past webinars where we're sort of talking about this new CMS that there's an opt-in kind of coming. There's more information to come to. I don't believe right now within the Reach system itself that you can do that with our current design tool. We can check and get back to you. I have your name. So I'll double check on what the functionality is sort of moving forward. But I know we can pull in branded fonts, Ella, on like the
Mhm.
layout design, but I'm
Yep.
not sure if we can on sort of the announcement creation. I don't know if you know anything different, Ella.
No, I do know for, like you said, for the layout side, so like some of the applications like the calendar, time, date, like those things we can pull in your branding font. But for those actual like content slides, kind of what Tristan said.
Yeah, and then someone asked if they get a copy of the presentation. Yes, we will send sort of a recap email. There will be a copy of the slide deck and then a recording of this as well. So if you, like I said, need to reference it again or want to pass it on to somebody else, you are happy to do that. And then question was, where do you access the counter tool? So that is an actual application that we do within the layout editor. If your permissions don't have access to that, I would get in touch with your account manager and then we would work with our creative team and make sure that that gets implemented for whatever it is you guys are looking to count. Okay, someone said that they use Adobe Font Export Link to utilize it. I'm wondering if that's referring back to using your branded fonts. So maybe
Yeah,
just a
that's
little.
that's what we'd use. We use Adobe Fonts and Google Fonts to
Okay.
link within the layout. And if for some reason they're not on there, we can physically download those fonts onto the player. But again, that's for like the layout and not the like building of like content slides
Sure.
that I know of yet.
Yeah, that's a good question though. And I could see that being a request that pops up. So I think we'll definitely circle back with our dev team and see if that's in the queue or if, kind of what the possibility of getting that to kind of be a thing. So yeah, good question. I would encourage anybody to sort of give us those wish list items. We love to hear those. So even if it's something that we don't necessarily have today, the more we hear about it, the more likely we are to sort of add it to that queue of potential development. So yeah, definitely share any information that you guys have for a wish list. Like I said, even if we don't have it now, we like to hear that information. Anything else anyone has about this upcoming busy time? But like I said, hopefully you were able to get some ideas about how you can just sort of implement some of these ideas to your digital signage leading into the end of the year and take some of these holidays and come up with some fun. We would love to hear about them too. So if you come up with any ideas and want to share either a picture of what your screen looks like or how it turned out, we'd love to hear those too. I don't see anything else. Oh, maybe one more. You're welcome. Says thanks for the info. So perfect. Well, we will send out an email, like I said, with a recap of the slide deck and then a recording of this. It will have our contact information as well. Like I said, if you're not sure who to contact, you're welcome to reach out to us and we can certainly put you in touch with the right person. So we really appreciate all your time today and hopefully this was helpful and sparked some ideas for your signage. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.